Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. Welcome back to another Since I Was Young podcast for all things Heart of Midlothian. Joining you as always is myself, Ewen Ramsey, and my wonderful co-host, Alan Scrimger. Alan, how are you doing, my good man? You all right?
I'm very well, mate. Very well. My voice is still recovering from last night, but I'm very well otherwise.
Fantastic, mate. And that beautifully segue what we're going to talk about today. The Gorgie boys are on the road to Hampden. A semi-final awaits Heart of Midlothian in a month or so time. Of course, we are referring to the game that was held yesterday. We're recording this on a Sunday afternoon, where Hearts were victorious in a very entertaining and thrilling game at Tynecastle under the lights, where we faced St.Mirren in a 4-2 victory, which, as previously mentioned, takes us into the semi-final of the Scottish Cup, which is a fantastic achievement in itself for this season, especially. So obviously we will dive into the game, some of the more headline and talking points as well, like the goals and some of the player performances, etc. as well. And yeah, so we'll dive into a bit about that, and we'll talk about a bit about the possible scenarios of the semi-finals. Of course, both Hibs and Rangers, as we speak, are playing right now. Hibs, of course, came out on top against Motherwell, so they booked their place into the semi-finals. So the two Edinburgh teams in the hat for that. And with Rangers looking pretty comfortable against Dundee, they're currently 2-0 up away at Dens Park, so they'll probably have their name in there. And with Celtic playing, I mean, what, like, are Celtic playing tonight, Alan, or like is it
tomorrow?
Right, okay,
tomorrow.
So it's tomorrow, but most likely as well they'll probably have their names in the hat. So it'll be a Glasgow Edinburgh semi-final, it looks like. But obviously we'll talk a bit about that. And to end off the podcast, we will look forward back into the league as well, where there are only 3 remaining games until the split occurs, and that will be against Livingston at home at Tynecastle next Saturday. So we'll have a brief preview on that. So yeah, that's going to be your podcast for this evening. But as always, guys, before we start, we'll start with the necessities. As always, if you're not subscribed to the Since I Was Young podcast, please think about subscribing and smash that like button. As always, if you want to get in contact with us through our socials as well, you can. We're on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, all at SIWYpod. Alternatively as well, if you want to get in contact with us through our email as well, you certainly can, since I was young 1874 at gmail.com. And alternatively as well, if you want to get in contact with either myself or Alan, please feel free to do so. Our links will be in the description as always. Alan, smooth as fuck, professional. Here we go, boys. So I'm going to kick off, Alan. Obviously, you said yourself that you were at the game. Incredible atmosphere from yourself. Unfortunately for myself, due to work, I was unable to attend, but I did watch the game as soon as I got home in HD. So as I said to you, Alan, it was almost as if I could grab Andy Halliday's arse through that telly. So it was a fabulous game. Fabulous. So obviously, as we talked about last week for the Dundee United game, of course, we had a lot of injuries as well, which was one of the main talking points from last week as well. So just to kick things off, Alan, just to refresh everybody's memory as well, just going to go through the team sheet here. Of course, it was the same system that we've adapted from, changing from the 3-4-3, which I believe was a 4-2-3-1. And we had Gordon, of course, had Kingsley, Haring, Beningame, Woodburn, Boyce, Atkinson, Halliday, Mackay, Halkett and Sims. So even though with the 6 injuries that occurred, it was still a pretty strong-ish lineup, Alan. And I would say, like, you know, from before the game kicked off itself, like, it was still a team strong enough to overcome some Mirren and book our place in the semi-finals. Yeah,
I think so. I predicted the lineup earlier on in the day, and I put in McKenneth instead of Woodburn. But that aside, that was the only one I got wrong. I was pleased to stick with the 4 again, because obviously we've done that the last few weeks and it's worked.
Yeah.
Kingsley and Halkett were at the back solid.
Outstanding, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's again, I think, I've been saying it for a few weeks now about finding sort of balances in certain areas. And I think Boyce and Sims, like we had a conversation about this a few episodes ago, and I think we finally hit on a way that they can both play.
Yeah.
And play well, to be honest, on the same pitch. Because I think for me that was a big issue for a few games this season where we've tried to sort of put them into the same team and just make something work. But Boyce in that 10 was unplayable last night.
Yeah, no, man, I can totally agree with you, in that, because again, they seem to, like you said, they seem to be building slowly up like a rapport, with each other, which obviously doesn't have us having to rely solely on a Boyce to actually score goals himself. Sims obviously puts himself about as well for being such a big guy as well. Obviously, I mean, we may as well just dive straight into it. I don't know about you how it was at the actual game itself, Alan, but my heart and my voice were just racing for that first goal. That big scramble from Sims, of course. You're like, put it in the net. But of course, that brings us on to our one of our star men in the centre of the park, who obviously got his first goal for the famous, of course, referring to Beni Bingingham, who just fucking rattled it in, no messing about, and Beni bangs one in for the first time in his Hearts jersey. A beautiful moment to behold, Alan. Much like Cammy Devlin, as well, the big smile on his face, it just makes you want to hold him and hug him every day of the bloody week, doesn't it? But of course, you'll get a better sense of the game because, of course, we mentioned you were actually there, obviously, up until the actual goal itself. Did you feel that, we were in sort of control up until that point? Did you kind of feel, even before the game kicked off, that, we were going to almost sort of, was it a breeze for this style?
I think it's an interesting one because I think that, for the start of the game, we kind of controlled the ball well and we moved it around. But it was and I said it last night as well, it's a proper cup tie, both teams having a go and both teams kind of afraid to make a mistake as well, because obviously it might have cost them a goal. But I have to say, just before I talk about any of the goals or anything, the atmosphere in Tynecastle was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic last night.
And looked fantastic, Alan, as well.
Yeah, and if you can tell, my voice is still not fully recovered, but we're getting there. If you'd heard me this morning, if we'd recorded this even a few hours ago, I think that would be subtitles only for me, I think, to be honest. But I mean, 7:45 kickoff on a Saturday took a lot of, not criticism, but I did see a lot of people online saying they weren't going to go because it was an inconvenient time, or because it was on TV and things like that. But there was 13,000 or so in the stadium, and it was a really, really good atmosphere. Obviously helped by the fact that probably a good 50% of the supporters were in the pub beforehand. But going back to the goal, it was great. And Beni just doing what he should do, just being alert. And Sims, to be fair, Sims should have scored it.
Yeah, I know, but
he sort of tripped over his own feet and it just kind of fell to Beni, and he knew what to do. But I think when the goal came, we deserved it. I think we were in control of the tie. But St.Mirren, they're a strange team, very strange team. They've got some good players going forward, but at the back, I was not impressed. Apart from their goalkeeper was alright, I suppose.
Yeah, no, they seem to be the kind of team where it's very a very yo-yo team where there isn't enough consistency for them to even, I mean, well, it could be any one of 6 teams sort of chance to get into the 4th spot for this season, but in general, they seem to be the kind of team that one sort of year they'll make it in to the top 6, the next year they'll be near down at the bottom. But regardless of that, there's still an error relevant team, Alan, so we won't get too deep, into that. But yeah, it's in Mirren, in general. Of course, we will talk about it a bit later on, but until they got that goal back to obviously make it 2-1, but we will talk about our second goal in a wee sec. They didn't really offer that much, but of course, once they did get that goal back, they almost seemed to sort of click right back in to gear where they were really in the faces like a hearts. Again, at that point as well, did you have sort of any concerns at all? Because we did say before we started recording, I had a small amount of doubt, but again, it wasn't really an over sort of exaggerated, oh, this could turn really bad here.
No, I think the only kind of threat that they had came from Jordan Jones up against Atkinson, who had a stinker of a first half, which is a shame. He didn't play well in the first half. He was taking the ball out, making passes to people that just weren't there. He got beat a few times by Jordan Jones, as I say. Connor Ronan as well, who I'm sure we'll talk about later on, but he had a very good little spell. But it's funny, obviously, the second goal that we scored, before I even talk about the St. Mirren goal, the second goal that we scored, kind of, when we got the first one, I was thinking, right, nice and early, 15 minutes in, great start. And then we got the second one, and I'm thinking, and I messaged you, and I won't repeat what that message was, but I said similar on Twitter after the game. For those that don't know, I try and keep these podcasts relatively PG from my side, so I'm not going to repeat what I messaged you, but
yes,
it's on my Twitter.
Please take into account that anything that goes on our Twitter page from the Since I Was Young podcast, I have never posted anything from that bloody site. So please take anything with a pinch of salt and don't send me hate mail. So,
I saved my rants for Twitter and sending you messages.
Yeah.
So when we went 2-0 up, I was let's say delighted. Thought that we were going to be in for a nice, comfortable after evening, and but to be fair, when St. Mirren kind of got their goal back, they probably deserved to score at that point because they were putting a bit of pressure on us, and it was almost like when we scored the second goal, we kind of slowed down a little bit, and maybe we thought that, right, this is 2 goals in the first half, 2 goals in the first half an hour, even. So I think we maybe just kind of thought, right, we'll take the foot off it for a little bit. And to be fair, St. Mirren responded relatively quickly after we scored our second. I think it was only about 5 minutes between the goals. Brophy, I thought it was an own goal to start with, and then I watched it again and realized it wasn't. But yeah, they deserved it at that point in the game. They were the team that were, I wouldn't say in control, but they were certainly the team that were looking better.
Definitely, Alan. I mean, going slightly off script, of course we have to talk about it. The man of the match himself, the beautiful Austrian, the beautiful haired, the beautiful man. Where's that contract, Alan? Where is it? Where is it?
I think Savage has lost his pen or something.
Mate, obviously, it was taken quite well from Haring as well to kind of bolster that lead. But just to kind of move away from the game, I know we've mentioned it quite a few times on the podcast, especially in the last few weeks as well, of course, with a few players on new contracts as well. But, Alan, I've got a really funny feeling. Obviously, I know that Andy Halliday got his deal not too long ago, so it wouldn't be, a shock that if we were to make a few contract extensions, just now, even when we're getting in to the tail end of the season. But why have I got a really, really doubtful feeling that we won't sign Haring, even though I want it to? Obviously, I've had my say on Haring for a few times, but I really, really will hold my hands up and say that he's really kind of cemented, maybe not in the first team squad, just in terms of the rotation, as such, that Robbie likes to have, like in terms of himself, the Beni and Devlin, but he's really kind of cemented himself as a Hearts favourite as well. Well, like for the majority, like fans, like should I say? But again, just to go back, why have I got a really horrible feeling that a contract might not be kind of coming like around to him anytime soon? Like, is that just me, or because I don't know?
No, I feel the same. I feel the same, and I'll be absolutely devastated if it does happen. I had a conversation yesterday with someone at the game,
Yeah,
and they basically said the same thing. They said, that this guy has had a horrific injury, as seems to be the way when you play for Hearts, you get a horrific injury at some point. He came through it, and he's taken his time to get back to what we saw before the injury.
yeah,
And I think he's there now, and I think it's just the way it goes. And I hope that, I think Robbie said a couple of weeks ago that they've still not made their mind up about giving him a contract yet or offering him a contract yet. I hope that in the next few weeks that his mind is made up. I hope after last night his mind is made up that they have to give him a contract, because I think there's two players that played last night that absolutely strolled it, and that is Peter Haring and Halkett. The two of them, they were effortless, and even Haring's goal, like we were talking about there, the build up to the goal was good, and I'll give some credit to Ben Woodburn. He was a little bit productive and obviously got the assist for it. But I didn't realize, because I was in the Gorgie Road end, so I was up the other end of the park. But I didn't actually realize how far Haring had to stretch to score that goal.
Yeah.
From where I was sitting, it actually looked like quite an easy goal. And then I watched it back and I thought,
I know.
That's like full stretch. But
yeah,
yeah,
literally.
I hope that Haring gets a new contract, and I hope that his recent performances have at least shown Robbie, look, get him signed up. But I don't know if it'll happen. I really don't. And yeah. But then the thing is, for all we know, I said this last week, for all we know, Peter Haring wants a new challenge and wants to try something else. And you can't begrudge him that if that is the case.
Possibly, Alan, like as well, because you've got, sorry, sorry to interrupt, because you've got to take into account as well that it could be a mixture of things if we don't get him on a new contract, whatever that be, you mentioned it a few weeks ago, of course, Robbie wants to kind of lower the age of the group as well. Maybe he has his eyes set on somebody new. Maybe he wants to have different options. Was it who knows? And like you said as well, who knows? Maybe Haring wants to have a new the challenge as well. But of course, we can always leave that up to our Twitter page as well, as you so love a poll, Alan, as well. I mean, we can maybe put that up whether or not you think Haring will stay, i.e., will get a contract offer at the end of the season, because it'd be interesting to see what other people's thoughts is on Haring as well. Because of course, there have been a few people where, like yourself, more Alan, saying that he's been fantastic, he's been this and that, but at the same end as well, that there have been people that are saying that he's hopeless, he's this and that. So it'd be quite interesting to actually hear what you guys think as well. So we can always put a wee poll on that one. So of course, Alan, as we just said there, of course, we get the second goal. St.Mirren managed to pull one back. They start to put a bit of pressure on, and then we get to the end of the first half, still in front as well. 2-1. So again, from you, but because I'm only asking you personally because you were actually there and you can get a better sort of grasp on what the actual game was like. At that point for yourself as well, were you in any doubt, at all? Of course, with them St.Mirren getting back into it, as well, you would possibly have a tiny wee voice, in the back of your mind saying that, they could easily get back into this and who knows, possibly cause an upset.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing or the best thing was to get to half time at 2-1, because when St Mirren scored, they did get a lot of momentum from that,
They
and
did.
it certainly gave them a bit of a boost, and I think again gave us a bit of a shock. But we kind of calmed down a bit towards the end of the first half, and we were kind of like back in control again. And it was like, okay, there's no danger of a second St Mirren goal before halftime. But yeah, I just wanted to say as well that Ben Woodburn, I mentioned him briefly before. I was actually, when I saw his name on the team sheet, I was kind of like, don't know. We need to see something.
Yeah.
We need to see something from him tonight. And he wasn't terrible. Like, he got the assist for Haring, and he wasn't actually that bad. But I mean, without doing anything aside from the assist, without doing anything really spectacular, he wasn't that bad. And
I know, but again, Alan, like these kind of performances have not been that bad. I don't think it's still going to be enough for him to stay, though.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
No.
I don't think so either. I think if we have any sense, or if the club have any kind of visions, I don't think Ben Woodburn stays next season. But then, yeah, he wasn't bad. But then obviously, second half, I was happy that Robbie didn't change anything at halftime, because I thought, doesn't need to change anything just now. We're winning. That's what matters. And we got in at halftime 2-1 up and looked fairly comfortable. But second half started, wee bit scrappy again, a few chances at both ends, and then, well, after an hour, are we going to talk about what was probably, I'll just say it before you jump in, probably one of the best goals I've seen at Tynecastle. I'm not going to lie.
Well, one of the more powerful goals that I could have seen at Tynecastle, and you just said there as well with Robbie that didn't change anything. It is a shame that he didn't suggest to Craig Halkett to change his boots, being able to score for 4 yards. Jesus, true. That bar was still rattling at halftime, mate. Seriously, that was a fucking rocket. Seriously,
true, I'd forgotten about that.
I know. Just like a little popped in there, but yes, you are right. I suppose we have to talk about it, and you can't have any. Was it? Qualms about it, I think what shocked me more was that Craig Gordon stood absolutely frozen, which again, you can't really blame him for. Like, I know we like to protect our number one goalkeeper at all costs, but again, literally speechless. Like you can't really say anything much, but again, you've got to give credit to the player. What was it? Ronan. Yeah. It was so fucking straight. You can't say much about it. It was just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's been their best player this season by a mile. He's on loan from Wolves, I think it is.
Right.
He's actually a player that I wouldn't mind seeing playing for Hearts, to be honest with you. 24, I think he is, 23, 24. Got a bit of quality. I think he's got 7 or 8 goals for them this season.
Right.
But yeah, he was a handful all day. All night rather. But yeah, look, it's a cracking goal. You don't. What do you say? Even Robbie Nielsen was clapping it, because it's like,
I know. Yeah, no, absolutely.
You have to appreciate a goal like that. But thankfully, obviously, end result wise, it didn't mean anything, which makes it probably even more special from a Hearts fan point of view, and probably a bit more gutting from a St Mirren fan point of view, that a goal like that in the end doesn't really mean anything.
Not particularly, Andy, because of course, obviously St Mirren, when they got their first goal, didn't take long to try and get back into the game, but on the same shoe, it didn't take us that long to get ourselves back in front. Obviously, it was about 5 minutes between the actual goal itself and then for ours, for a very specific man, 26 seconds from being on the park and having his first touch and putting it into the back of the net. And again, as well, I thought in the build-up as well, I know he said he didn't have a particularly good first half, but I thought Atkinson did really well to get away from his man to actually get in to the box and put that assist in. What's it? I don't know about Adam McInnes, mate. I really don't know. I don't think it's his ability, because I think he's got the quality there. It's just whenever we do start him, I don't know if he just never gets the opportunity to showcase what he's actually the made of as such, or obviously like he's not had a lot of starts this season, but he reminds again this is going to be so sort of a cliche as well, but he's starting to kind of mold into that kind of Jamie Walker role where he's starting to be like a super sub, which obviously for his point of view that's not what he wants. He wants to be playing every single week. But do you think he has a case, Alan? Do you think he could potentially be a key player throughout next year, as well? Because part of me wants him to be, but again, obviously because you've got Devlin and the Beni Haring as well in there, where does he fit? Do you even think in the future, if we stick to the same system as well, he could maybe potentially fit into that number 10 role?
Well, he seems to like Robbie in the championship. When Robbie used him, he was kind of used sort of predominantly in the wing.
Yeah,
played him in the middle, which is kind of where we thought he was going to play when he arrived, sort of like a box to box type of midfielder. I'm sure that's what he referred to himself as when he arrived. But then Robbie sort of played him out on the wing, and in the championship he kind of didn't really look great.
No.
It was okay when he was called upon. I think similarly to how he is now. I think what you say about him being similar to Jamie Walker is absolutely spot on, to be honest. I think it's funny because, as I said at the start of this, I had predicted that Mechaniff would have started. But part of me is quite happy that he didn't start because he started or rather Woodburn started ahead of him. Robbie basically confirmed that and said that the reason that Mechaniff didn't start is because he wanted to have him on the bench, because if he started him, then the lack of options off the bench would have meant we couldn't really change anything. So yeah, look, I've been banging the Mechaniff drum for a long time. I think there's, and it's my favourite saying, I think there's a player in there. I do.
Oh,
I think there's a player in there.
I know there is.
But the thing is, there a player in there that could play for the level that we want? I don't know. But if he's going to come on and do things like he did in that game, I'm all for it.
Definitely.
And, 20 odd seconds between coming on and the ball going in off his knee, which it did.
I would take it every day of the week, mate. Every day of the week.
Yeah. It's funny because I had a look at a lot of sort of St.Mirren fans on Twitter, and they were saying, "Oh, he knew nothing about it. It just hits off him." It's like, well, yeah, but he's in the right place. Like, what difference does it make?
And what?
Well, exactly.
Exactly.
I'm just surprised they can operate technology. But anyway, I just feel that Aaron Mechaniff deserves an opportunity, and I think the substitute appearance and getting a goal and an assist as well for the last one, means he has to start the next game for me. I think Atkinson played very well in the second half, and he linked up well when Mechaniff came on the pitch. I think there is a player in Aaron Mechaniff, and I hope that this is a wee glimpse of that. And as I say, if he's going to be an off the bench, impact player, fair play. I mean, I love it, and it's funny because we talk about like the size of the Hearts squad just now, and it is quite a small squad of players that we've got. But you can tell that they're all such a tight-knit group. And
100%.
When he scored, and even when Haring scored, and even when Beni scored, the whole team celebrated.
Absolutely,
it's like, we're scoring goals, we're winning a game that's getting us to a semi-final of a cup, but you can tell that they're all genuinely delighted for each other.
100%.
And it's great. Like Mechaniff, because even Robbie says it about him, that he trains really well, and he probably doesn't get the minutes that his training performances deserve. Like he should be playing more. But no, I'm delighted for him. Really, really am. And I think if he's going to, like you say, going forward, if he's going to be in and around the squad, it's probably quite a good time, because obviously Gary Mackay-Steven has broken his hand, I believe, after the last game, so that could see him out for a few weeks. So maybe that's an opening for Mechaniff to come in and play. I'd certainly put him in ahead of Woodburn at the moment, despite Woodburn actually not being terrible.
True, but Alan, but I mean, just because you mentioned it there, like of course, like he was involved in the last goal, like as well, of course, scored by Sims as well, which pretty much wrapped up the game in general. So yeah, I mean, just to kind of look forward, Ireland. Like we said at the start, of course, like as we speak, Hibs have obviously booked their place in the semi-finals. Rangers look to do the same as well as we speak. Then playing in Dundee, as we last checked, it was 2-0. So they've probably booked their place in. Celtic, you would probably expect to get into this semis as well. What's your ideal outcome? Obviously, whatever team you choose, it's obviously going to be a tough task to actually sort of bring ourselves to the final as well. But at that same time, there's obviously no reason whoever we get, if that be Hibs, Rangers, or Celtic in the semi-finals. There's obviously no reason as to why we can't go on in to the final, because of course we're obviously going to have to play one of the Old Firm, either way. So just in your head, I mean, is there any sort of best sort of scenario in terms of how we go about it in terms of the of one of the teams we may get, or are you just not that arsed about it and just bring it on, basically?
Probably a bit of both, to be honest. I watched the Hibs game earlier and I wasn't overly worried about them. I wasn't overly concerned about them, but then I'm not overly concerned about Hibs in general. But yeah, I mean, plus it's Hibs at Hampden. We don't lose to Hibs at Hampden, so I would take them.
I'm knocking on my wood so fucking hard right now. Sorry, just had to put that in.
Come on, no, I mean, I think
that
ideally, I'd love another Edinburgh Derby final. That would be amazing. But
wouldn't it? Just wouldn't it?
Yeah, but no, I mean, look, at this point, it's funny because I said it before the game that yesterday's game was massive because if we won it, it gives you a semi-final to look forward to, which then potentially gives you a final to look forward to.
Of course, yeah.
Had we lost it yesterday, then you're thinking, well, the season's kind of done now. We're going to finish third. We're not throwing it away now. And if we'd lost last night, it would have been kind of, there's nothing left to play for. We're just close to the end of the season. So no, winning was massive last night. In terms of the draw, look, whatever happens.
Yeah.
If you're gonna ask me right now who I think we'll get, I would expect Celtic to beat Dundee United, and then I think we'd get Celtic in the semi-final because we always seem to draw Celtic at some point in a cup competition.
I agree with you.
But yeah, look, like you say, if you're gonna win a cup, you have to beat at least one of them. And Robbie was talking after the game about wanting to make history and talking about the number of Hearts squads that have qualified for Europe compared to the number of Hearts squads that have won the Scottish Cup. And to have won it three different squads have won it before, which our Scottish Cup recent form, our recent aside from the final that we were in against Celtic and lost on penalties, we've not really been great in the Scottish Cup for a long time. And Robbie Nielsen's cup form hasn't been great either, so he'll want to get to a final.
100%.
But they're free hits, they're one-off games.
Yeah.
And, it's at Hampden, which I don't really rate as a football stadium at all. But it's a day out. If we can get there, I'd love. Listen, give me Hibs. Just give us Hibs. I'll take them.
Love it, Alan. Love your enthusiasm, sir. But yeah, so obviously we come to the end of this segment. Just to recap, Hearts have booked their place in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup by beating St.Mirren 4-2, which was a really entertaining game. So we move back to the business of the league. As I've mentioned, 3 games left until the end of, sort of the season as such, before we move into the split where our last 5 games will be played. Now, if my maths serves me right, Alan, and it rarely ever does, but we're 13 points ahead just now with 3 games left to play before the split, which in total is 8 games in total. if my maths is right, if we accumulate at least 15 points ahead of whatever team is in fourth at that time, because it seems to change from week to week. If we accumulate at least 15 points, we would have to lose every single game to for any one team to actually catch us. But yeah, I think if we are 15 points ahead, by the time we get to the split, we've pretty much secured third place, and the possibility of a knockout qualifier as well for the Europa League as well. Right now, as it stands, we've reached a semi-final. Fucking shite season, Alan, eh? Pish. Utter garbage.
Yeah, terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Fucking honking, mate, honking. But of course, we move back to the business of the league. Obviously, we have up next Livingston at Tynecastle this coming Saturday. Yeah, again, Alan, just on the back, like your usual sort of because we've moved into the semis of the cup as well. Obviously, the team itself and the confidence in that will be flying high by the time we get into next week. Again, I don't think we really need to go too much into it. I just think we're going to win. And I think we're going to win comfortably. I'm not saying an absolute pumping as such, which I'm still to sort of get, according to my past head-to-head predictions. But yeah, again, Alan, I mean, there's not really much to say about it. I mean, I'm feeling quite confident going into the game next week, just to kind of edge closer into the territory where it's mathematically secured third place in European football, mate.
Certainly hope so, mate. Certainly hope so. I think the fact it's at Tynecastle as well.
Yeah.
I think you're right to be as confident as you are.
Mm-hmm.
I too am confident. From watching them last night, obviously it's a different kind of game, different kind of team, yeah. But we looked solid. We looked back to our kind of comfortable form that we saw at the start of the season. I think that's the biggest thing that I can say, because obviously when we went on that run at the beginning of the season, it was very much, next game's a win. We're looking good and the confidence is high and the players are playing well. And I think we're getting back to that again slowly. We had that little slump, but I think we're fully out of it now. Players should still be on a high. I don't know about Halkett because obviously he got a wee head knock in the game against St.Mirren. So they might think, okay, do you know what? Let's just rest him for a game, maybe.
If he's
not 100%, because he wasn't 100% going into the game last night either. Neither was Haring, I think, was the other one that they were doubtful about. But yeah, look, you take the confidence from last night's game, you roll into the weekend, and hopefully we can get a couple of goals past Livingston and just motor on. We've got Livingston, then we play after.
It's Ross County, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got Livingston at home, Ross County away, and then Hibs at home to finish it off before the split. So
tasty.
It would be nice to wrap up third by pumping Hibs at Tynecastle before the league split. That would be my ideal scenario.
Most definitely, sir. Most definitely. And on that note, sorry, sir. Go on, you go.
No, I was just going to say focus on Livingston first and then take it from there.
Understood that, sir. Well, before I ask you for a prediction, I'm going to let you have the honour, sir, to ask me what the prediction is going to be first, because obviously with the win last night as well, of course, neither myself or Alan got a correct scoreline, but we did get a right result, which gave us another point each, with Alan just tinily and still in the bloody lead, and we're only 8 games away from the end of the season, and I don't want to do my forfeit. I honestly don't, because honestly, I'm going to lose all respect for anyone who watches this podcast and my own self as well. But anyhow, we'll cross that bridge if we have to come to it. So yeah, Alan, I'll let you have the honour, sir.
What, you want my prediction, or are you going to give yours? But you go ahead.
I would preferably like you to ask me, because I want to get Ed in there first, like, you know what I
mean? Okay. Well, what are you thinking for the Livingston tie on the weekend?
Oh, how nice of you to ask, Alan. Again. Oh, thank you, sir. But yeah, like I say, mate, like, you know, confidence aside, there's no reason for us not to win the game at home as well. So I'm going to say a very comfortable 2-0 win to Hearts. Was that the same as you, sir? That's why I fucking said it first, because I knew that you were going to say something like that.
Why do we always do this? Why have we done this? Because I was going to say 2-0 as well. Like,
well, mate, you can still say it, like, as well, man.
Jeez, right. Do you know what? I'm going to go 3-1. I'm going to say 3-1 because I'm going to say goals.
Tasty.
I'll go 3-1. Realistically, I think 2-0 is actually a pretty good prediction. But to make it interesting and to make it tasty, up a little bit, I'll go for a different scoreline, but a Hearts win still. So 3-1.
Love it, mate. Honestly, like, it would just be typical for you to get it. Like, I may as well do my forfeit next the week, mate. So, but yeah, that sounds good, man. So yeah, I said from Alan, he's going for a 3-1 win to Hearts, with myself a 2-0 win against Livingston next Saturday. So obviously we'll update our head-to-head, and yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end of the 44th episode of the Since I Was Young podcast for all things Heart of Midlothian news, chats and debates. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you did enjoy it, and of course we do hope you are all good and well. But why wouldn't you be? We're on the road to Hampden, boys. We're going to win the cup. Here we go, boys. So absolutely. Yes, absolutely, sir. Here we go. We've got to have that optimistic hat on, sir. Like, you're firmly back on. But yes, guys, as always, if you aren't subscribed to the Since I Was Young podcast for all things Heart of Midlothian, please think about subscribing and hit that like button as well, because it's always really appreciated as always. And if you want to get in contact with us through our socials as well, you can. Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, all at SIWI Pod. Alternatively as well, we want to get in contact for our email as well, since I was young 1874@gmail.com. And alternatively as well, if you want to get in contact with either myself or Alan, please feel free to do so. Our links to our Twitter pages will be in the description if you want to give us a wee chat or a wee follow as well. So that is it from us. Alan, thank you very much as always for joining me after a glorious win for the Hearts, and we will see you all next week. You all take care. Bye for now.